I have decided. Today we are taking a look at another old Beast Wars toy, but I guess, upgraded version of an old Beast Wars toy. This is, I think, the Takara, or Takara's LG-02 Optimus Primal. It might be the Beast Wars Anniversary Primal, Optimus Primal. I don't know. I don't know if this came in a 2-pack with Megatron or was sold separately. The similarities between the Takara versus the Hasbro release of this particular iteration of the figure are too similar for me to spend time scrutinizing over them both. But regardless, this is basically the classic Kenner Beast Wars Ultra Class Optimus Primal, done with a slightly more show-accurate deco in a couple of places, namely the face, the robot mode chest plate, and the robot mode head. Now, the rest of the molding and detailing is relatively similar, or relatively the same. This is done in a lighter gray rather than like a black. I mean, it's still a dark gray, but it's a lighter color than the regular release toy that came out. And it's the Optimus Primal toy, but we never looked at the original Beast Wars Optimus Primal toys, so that's one of the things we're doing now. So I got this off of eBay for a really good price, actually. I was really excited that the auction ended when it did, but it is missing two things, and that is 2 missiles. He's got everything else, including 2 other missiles, because he actually comes with 4 in total. So I don't feel like I'm missing anything by missing 2 missiles, because he's still got 2 other missiles. So it gets, he's got the swords, he's got the mace, he's got 2 missiles. I think that's plenty. But just letting you all know, I am missing a couple of accessories. Thankfully, because this is the classic toy, the accessories store on him, which I love. I love that you can keep all the accessories stored, even in robot mode, and you don't even really notice them. That is super cool. Now, this figure, for anyone who's unfamiliar with it, it is pretty cool. It's very kind of simple in a lot of ways, but full of gimmicks and also really nicely detailed. There's, of course, the fur texture all over the place, and I kind of like how they've got the denser, shaggier fur texturing in the shoulders, which I feel like makes sense for a gorilla. There are some spots where the nice fur texturing just ends up being smooth, which is a little bit jarring in terms of the sculpt, but I think ultimately it's okay. They also use this really nice kind of very slightly coppery or bronze colored silver for different parts like the chest, the fists, and the face. Also, I am noticing a paint scratch here, which is unfortunate, but I did get this used, so it's fine. And what else? Well, the face, the gorilla face, is a lot more in line with the show. It's not like 1-to-1 for the show, but it's way closer. Well, actually, just the face, if we ignore the head, because the head shape on the show is a little different, but the face does look pretty darn close to the original CGI model, which is cool. And, the eyes are painted. He's not doing like the weird gorilla snarly face with the pupilless eyes. And yeah, I don't know. He's cool. He does have a gimmick in this mode. I mean, he has technically a couple of gimmicks, because you can push the button on his butt and make the cannons flip forward. I'm not flipping them forward all the way, like the way they're supposed to snap forward, because I noticed this panel kind of gets knocked out of position if I do that, and I don't want to risk stressing any plastic here, so that's why I kind of caught it with my hands on purpose. But you can flip the cannons forward and have this going on, which looks kind of silly, and here you can see that the swords, rather, are stored in his backside. But for now, we're just going to close this back up again. But that's a fun gimmick. But the main gimmick for this mode is you can stand him up, and let's raise this up a bit. Stand him up, bring his arms out, bring his fists in, and then this switch back here, you want to kind of pull it down. It's working, like it works with the mechanism here, but basically you want to pull it out like this and then push it in. And it should, once this is done, work by, with this pushed in, you pull it down and up, and that should do the mechanism. So if we push this down, yeah, there we go. It's a little fidgety, as you can see. I think something might be going on with the switches in the arms too, but he's supposed to do like the gorilla beating his chest thing. I don't know why it's not working super well. It worked better when I first got the figure. It may be something I did. I don't know. But it's a gimmick, and it exists. It sure does exist. I am not, like, it's fine, but I'm not the biggest fan of the arm gimmicks on this guy. Anyway, as far as sizes go, this is an ultra class, old school Kenner Beast Wars figure, so he is pretty large. With the, put him next to the regular size comparison crew, and he's a big fella. And then get all these out of the way again, and bring in Burnout in her alt mode. And this is like not King Kong. This is more like Mighty Joe Young in terms of scale. Extra points for anyone who actually knows what I'm talking about, because just in case anyone's curious, here he is with the Kingdom Primal mold, in this case the buzzworthy Nemesis Primal, but still it's the Kingdom mold, so way bigger than the Kingdom mold. Of course, there's a lot more articulation and engineering on this one, but way fewer gimmicks in that it has 0. And of course we have to bring out the king himself, Megatron. How do we position these? I had an issue earlier where my lighting setup was being moody and it bumped into Megatron, and that kind of repositioned his legs a bit. But yeah, here is the classic Beast Wars Primal mold with the classic Megatron mold. And I think this is kind of what the 2-pack was like. You had the more show-accurate Deco Megatron that came with the more show-accurate Deco Primal. And I think that's cool. They are older, so some bits are not sticking together the way they normally would, but it is what it is. And finally, at long last, because I know this is what you all have been waiting for, here he is with the Duck Tank. Okay, now it's time to go from a humanoid animal to a humanoid robot. But before we do, if you like this video or any other video that I've done, you want to support the channel, blah, 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 Coffee, Patreon, links to both at the end of the video as well as down in the description. Otherwise, you could always do the typical YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe. Now to transform this guy. First, I am actually going to remove these swords because I find it's very easy for these to get bumped out of position when rotating the waist around for the transformation, which is weird because I feel like that wasn't really a problem in the original version of this figure. I could be misremembering, but I feel like I don't remember that being an issue, so I'm just taking these out temporarily. But this is a very screen-accurate representation of transformation. First, you want to straighten out the legs, rotate these gorilla toes around. You don't have to, but it's part of the transformation. Then fold out the toes from the backs of the calves, and you get those pistons that come out like you'd expect. Rotate the waist around, and there is lower body all done. For the upper body, you just want to bring the arms down, unhook these little bits, these little tracks from these pegs sticking out of the backs of the forearms, and flip them up, and they kind of sort of lock into place. And you can bring the arms down, rotate the biceps, and they're very clicky. And to switch up the gimmick, there are these little switches on the top, on the sides of the biceps. You want to switch those up until they click. And that is what changes from one gimmick to the other. It basically changes how this functions. But you do that, and then just because I'll put the swords back real quick. And these just, there's a little peg hole here, little pegs on either sides of the swords, and that's where they attach. But yeah, this is where the waist rotation can become a problem. Because as this rotates, the hips end up crashing into the swords, and you can easily knock the swords out. And I don't understand why that's a thing, because I seriously do not remember that being a problem with the original, but it's a problem now. And they're not plugged in the wrong way, because they can't plug in the other way, so I don't know, maybe it's a molding thing, maybe they're like maybe these aren't the original swords that this particular figure is supposed to come with, and maybe that's causing the problem. I don't know. But it is what it is. It's just a little bit annoying, but it's easy to work around. Anyway, final couple of things. Take the gorilla face and unplug it from this whole section here, and it comes down on a strut. Then while it's still partially down, you can unpeg, untab, whatever, the actual face, and that will rotate 180 degrees and click into place again to give him his proper chest plate. And this comes down all the way and kind of clicks into place on the chest, and then finally just bring up the head. And there we go. There we have LG-02, I think, Optimus Primal in his robot mode, and this is, as I said before, it is the classic Kenner Ultra Class Primal figure, but in a more show-accurate deco with some more show-accurate molding, primarily in this case the chest plate and the head. And this looks really cool. I'm honestly more impressed with the transformation for Megatron, which we'll see them next to each other in a little bit, but I do think this is the definitive version of this figure, this mold, to get, because it does look really cool. I mean, I don't have a problem with the original release. I'm a little bit disappointed that the reissue they did is missing a couple of things, primarily the chest plate in the original release. It's a very hollow thing in either version, the original figure or the re-release. Like the chest plate is kind of like a hollow thing, but it works. But in the original release, the chest plate had this like circular divot that was painted red in addition to the gray for the rest of the chest plate, which kind of evokes this design. For the reissue, they didn't do the red. They just painted the little chest plate waffling gray. And for some reason, that really bums me out. I don't know. When I saw that, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm not going to spend $50 for this reissue when it's very clearly missing what I would call kind of an important, not like essential, but like, a noticeably important paint app. But this, very cool. It is in many ways the exact same thing as the gorilla mode, but now you get the revealed bicep detailing, which you could see a little bit of in the beast mode, but you've got the red and white up here. It's kind of beastly with these little like teeth or claws etched in there. Also, you've got the red and white for the thighs, the gray and dark blue for the waist section, and the kind of metallic-y, silvery color that they used for like the chest and the fists for the robot mode feet, but the pistons are painted in red. And it is cool that as you move the foot, they move in and out. And then there's the chest, which looks really good. This is the main feature for this figure that I think makes it better than the other versions, because I really like this chest detailing, and I like that it's not just a hollow chunk like it is with the original release or the reissue. This looks really good, and like the painting is good. I like the two-tone metallics that they used here with like the darker coppery color for most of it, and like a not much lighter, but a lighter, more traditional silver for the accents. Get a little bit of that red in the center there around the ring, and it looks really cool. And the head, don't want to bring him in so close that the lighting doesn't work. The head is much more in tune with the show design. I don't think that's strictly necessary, because I do think the Kenner toys did some fun stuff with the designs, and I'm not like a huge everything has to be accurate kind of person, but I do think this is good. I like this design for the head better than the mutant head. And really, like, I have no problem with the robot mode head, the regular robot head for the original figure. I kind of like the face-plated Prime look, or face-plated Primal look. But that mutant head, just I'm not the biggest fan of, and especially because it kind of gets in the way of things. So that is actually what I prefer on this one, is that it doesn't have the mutant head. It's just the robot mode head, and that's it. But yeah, it looks the part of the show. It's not 100% accurate, but it gets most of the right points with the visible mouth through the faceplates. The helmet's pretty much the right shape. You got the little ear thing, like ear antenna thingies. They did the thing kind of like what they did with Megatron, where they painted the eyes red and they actually gave him pupils in like a kind of pinkish color, which looks cool, but I don't know if it works as well. It's like this Primal face looks good, and I do think it's probably the more preferable option compared to the other head sculpts that this figure comes with, but I just don't think it pulls off the look quite as well as the alternate Megatron head sculpt for this iteration of that figure. Because this doesn't really, like, it looks like Primal from the show, but it doesn't really seem to capture his personality as well as the Megatron head sculpt captures Megatron's personality. Granted, Primal was kind of like a Boy Scout, so he didn't have as flamboyant's the wrong word, as boisterous, I guess, a personality as Megatron in Beast Wars, but still, I feel like it captures the look, but not as much of the essence of the character. But I do prefer this, as I said, over the other options. Now, articulation-wise, the head is on a ball joint. You get a little bit of side-to-side tilt, but not much. You can't really look down, but you can look up because of how it transforms. And you can rotate around. It can rotate around 360 degrees. The ear antennas can move back and forth a little bit. So you can do that if you want. The arms can rotate all the way around, though it's weird because when rotating the arms, it actually sets off the mechanism for the gimmick for whichever one you have. So like if this is clicked down, rotating it actually makes the arm go in and out. And if this is clicked up, it makes the bicep rotate. So it's a little bit, it's a little weird that just rotating the arm makes that happen. But as you saw, the arms do go out, and the degree of click you get really depends on how these switches are set. That's one of the things, like, this is what I don't like about this gimmick. It kind of gets in the way of the articulation, because it, like, here you've got these clicks, but then, like, clicking it also kind of makes the biceps rotate, and I don't like that. And if you click it down, then there's more give between the clicks, and it kind of snaps back down. So like you kind of have to, like, you can see how that works now. But then if you click this down and you bring it up, it wants to snap back down. I do not care for this gimmick a whole lot. And then, as we've already shown, you get bicep rotation, which again is weird in that you get more clicks when this is down. And then if it's up, it just kind of wants to, like, it doesn't really click. So it's, you kind of, I find when I want to get into like more intricate poses with the arms, I have to keep alternating the switches. Like flick it down to rotate the bicep, then flick it up to bring out the arm, flick it back down to rotate the bicep. And I don't like how that affects things, as I've said. It just kind of gets in the way. Anyway, you get a single jointed elbow that bends past 90, which is good. The waist, raising this arm was making the bicep rotate. The waist does rotate. It rotates all the way around, but if you've got the swords in there, it will knock into the swords because of the hips. The hips are on big ball joints, so they can go forward to 90, back They can go past, or they can go to 90, but this whole thing gets in the way. So if you're rotating the waist, it's not a problem. But if the waist is straight, the legs only go back that far. They can go out to 90. You don't get a bicep rotation, but because you got these gigantic ball joints, you get a pretty effective range in thigh rotation, which I think is great. Like this, you can't get super dynamic with the rotation, but I think this is plenty for the kind of posing I like to do with my figures. So I'm not super bothered by the lack of thigh swivel. It'd be nice if you had it, but it's okay. And then for the knees, they can bend to slightly past 90 because of the transformation. You do not get any ankle tilts, but if you wanted to, you could push the toe up to give him like a walking kind of bracing pose or something. I don't know. It's a thing. You can do it. Balancing can be a little tricky, but I say as I just put him down and it works. But yeah, that's somewhat limited posability, but for the time, actually not bad. It's just this freaking gimmick. Now, before we get into the annoying gimmick, let's take a look at... I don't know how that got knocked off center, but let's take a look at the other stuff that he can do. So, he's got these two missiles that are stored up here, and they just slide out of their little storage thingy. And then from there, we can push the button to pop up the shoulder cannons, which I think look really cool in robot mode. I really, really like that. And these can go into little missile launchers. And the way you want to put it in, you want to have this little notch where it's for like catching. You want that facing down. But you put that in, click him in, and now he's got missiles that you can fire. You can store the missiles in the launchers when you flip these back. I prefer not to do it because I only have the two missiles, and I kind of think the shoulder guns look cooler without the missiles in them. And also, I don't know if like that'll wear out the spring if they are compressed for too long. So that's a thing, but you can push it. And wow, it's okay. It landed at my foot. We're fine. Yeah, it launches those missiles. So there is that, and of course you can pull out swords and give him his swords. They can peg into the hands, so you can give him two swords, or because of the size of the fists versus the size of the sword pegs, you can peg one into each side of the hand, and this gives him the double-bladed thing, which is cool. It's simple how that works, but very cool. You don't get any wrist rotation, but that's fine. And you can also open up this arm. There's this little kind of pressure tab here that you want to push in and pull up on these other tabs, and that will cause this to spring out. And then this you can, like if you want to leave it down, you can do that. If you want to fold it up, you can do that. So you can fold this out and give him a big old hand cannon, which is cool. And I think it's neat how they did this. They molded this in red, but they painted it in that metallic-y color, and the way it works, it has this, I don't know if it's intended or not, but this side effect of the insides of the barrels being red, which I think looks cool. And this, again, I think looks cooler without the missiles in it, but you can put the missiles in, and they just click in, and again, you want to have the little catch facing away from the button. So since these are the buttons here, you want the little gap facing that way. And that clicks in, and that just kind of makes it look silly, but you can do it. And then you can push the button to launch missiles, and there is that. Then to put it away, you just flip this in, flip the fist up, and then push this down to clip it back together. And for his final weapon gimmick, because again, this guy's loaded with gimmicks. For his final weapon gimmick, first I'll just put the missiles back here. Tuck those away. Now for the final weapon gimmick, you can open up this forearm. Come on. Open up. Clips together very solidly. Get these out of the way so I've got a little bit more area to work with here. So this just pulls up. It doesn't have the pressure tab of the other arm. There we go. So this opens up and you have this ugly thing, which is, well, first of all, those of you who are unfamiliar with this particular toy may see Paleotrex's head, but if you're unaware, this is actually what Paleotrex's head is homaging. It is Optimus Primal's mace. And this just, there are a couple of ways to store it, but there is basically this string. It's just two pieces, the gray plastic for the mace head, and then the, or whatever you want to call this, and the blue handle piece, and it's a spiky skull, and it looks weird, but like that's what original Beast Wars stuff was. It was very weird. And this can go in his hand, and now he has a mace on a string. So you can do that. And let's flip this back around so we can now show off his gimmick again. So now with those switches flipped, this gimmick is still operated the same way. You flip this up and push it in. But now when you flip it down, it makes his biceps rotate. And he can swing his weapons around. And it sure is a thing. It is undeniably a thing. I just, yeah, I've already made my feelings more than clear on where I stand on this this whole gimmick for this guy. I really like the weapon stuff that he does. I do not like the arm stuff that he does. The arm stuff is a bit overwrought, let's say. It just doesn't it doesn't impress me. It don't impress me much. And also, there we go. And also it just gets in the way of the posing. That's the thing that really kind of does it for me. I don't like how it gets in the way of the posing. Anyway, just gonna pull this up and wrap this around here. I don't know if this is the way to store it, but it's the way I've been doing it. This just tucks in here with the little, like the little spikes kind of go through the sides of the forearm. This closes up, and you even get a little spike for the head kind of poking through the bicep and even around the back there. So there he goes. I will, however, give him his swords, or his double-bladed glaive thing, whatever you want to call it, because I think it looks cool. And we'll give him his shoulder guns, because shoulder guns are cool. So yeah, there is Primal, LG-02 Primal. It's a very cool toy that looks really good. Has a lot of fun gimmicks. I just don't dig the arm stuff. But I've said that already. Now, size-wise, he's an ultra class, so he is big. And now that he's standing up entirely, he is quite big. So there he is with the usual size comparisons. Definitely towering over Dinobots. I guess this counts as like height-wise kind of a modern leader. Here he is with Burnout. Bring them a little closer together. So there he is with Legacy Burnout. Again, way bigger. And with the Kingdom mold, which I can't remember if this is a Voyager or a Deluxe. I feel like this is a Deluxe, but I could be wrong. My apologies if I'm remembering it wrong. It may be a Voyager, but yeah, here's how he stacks up with the more modern Primal mold. And this one doesn't have quite the same number of weapon gimmicks, but they worked in a lot of weaponry on this guy. Like, they gave him the shoulder cannons, they gave him arm-mounted cannons now, which is more accurate to the show, because in the show his arm did not turn into a cannon, but Yeah, and of course you get more articulation on this guy. And actually, looking at it, kind of more paint too. But it's also like half the size and bulk. And of course, we've got to bring in Megatron. And these two are... it's kind of interesting seeing them next to each other because while the look and deco on these guys is more accurate to the show... How did this get turned again? While the look is more accurate, the sizing definitely is not. Primal is noticeably like a little bit taller and also bulkier than Megatron, and that is definitely not show accurate. But again, this is from the original 90s toy line, so they weren't anywhere near as focused on show accuracy at the time. Well, the original molds were from the 90s line. I think these iterations of them came out a little bit later. But yeah, here he is with Megatron, and I feel like this is also kind of where you can see what I was talking about with how Megatron, the head, just kind of captures the essence of the character better. And I do think, while Primal's the better toy, I think Megatron is the better realization of the more show-accurate design. It feels like he's got way more paint. Seems like there was more done with the head. I mean, granted, it's a new head for Primal and a new head for Megatron, so like it's technically the same in terms of work, but like it just feels like there's more going on with Megatron compared to his original figure. Not to say that that means that Primal is bad. I think it more, if anything, means that, you know, Primal was much closer in his original iteration, but it's still a little bit like, I don't know, maybe they could have done more with Primal. And also, here he is with the duck tank. And that does it for LG-02 Optimus Primal. This is a very cool figure. Do these... Nope, not Blast Effect compatible. Just thought I'd check. But yeah, very cool figure. Very glad I got this guy. It is, as I said, in my mind, the definitive version of this mold. Because it looks great. And not just because of the show accuracy, but I just think the detailing in the chest, the lighter gray versus the black, letting like more of the details show through with like the sculpting and whatnot, the head sculpt, it's all just better in my mind. So yeah. Oh, also, just want to point this out for the people who complain about waffling and voids and whatnot in modern figures. One of the most beloved toys from the 90s. Look at that. That's where the weapons peg in. But oh, look at this. We've got a gap on the front of the fist. This is not to say that you're not allowed to have problems with waffling, but just when people make the argument, oh, they've got waffles now. It's like they've always been there. They have always been there, and sometimes they have been more egregious than they are now. But anyway, I don't want to get into a whole thing about that. I just want to say this guy's cool. I like him a lot. I'm glad I got him. This is an iteration of the toy that I've had my eye on for a while. This is truly the version of this mold for me. Even if I'm still not a fan of the arm gimmick. Really not a fan of the arm gimmick, but it's still a very cool toy. But that's enough about what I think. Hi, Astrid. What do you all think of whether it's LG-02 or any other iteration of the classic Beast Wars Primal? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you all for watching. And again, no idea what the next one's going to be. We'll find out together.